My old car's engine let out one final, pathetic sputter before dying completely. It was past 8 p.m. I was stranded on a desolate road, cutting through a pitch-black forest with not a single house in sight. Fortunately, after hours of waiting, a mechanic from a passing old truck managed to get my car running again. There was something unsettling about the way he looked at me. But at that moment, all I cared about was reaching my Airbnb cabin. After another 2 hours of driving, my headlights finally illuminated the small wooden cabin. It looked much older and gloomier than the pictures online. Surrounded by towering, pitch-black trees, it felt as though the forest was trying to swallow the tiny house whole. The moment I stepped out of the car, a biting cold pierced my skin. There was a heavy, unnatural silence. Not even the sound of a single insect could be heard in the woods. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Every step I took on the wooden floor groaned with a loud creak. Exhausted from the journey, I quickly heated up my food, ate and got ready for bed. I turned off all the lights, jumped into bed, and pulled the heavy blanket over my freezing body. The only sound was the eerie howling of the wind slipping through the wooden planks. Within 5 minutes, I fell into a deep sleep. I am not usually a light sleeper, but suddenly, my heart pounded and I jolted awake. The time was 3:15 a.m. The room was pitch black, except for the faint, pale moonlight filtering in from the outside. Why did I wake up? I held my breath and listened closely. Nothing, but my gut screamed at me. There is someone else in this room. Waiting for my eyes to adjust to the darkness, I lay perfectly still and slowly scanned the room. That was when I noticed something strange on 2 of the walls. Something I hadn't seen before. Paintings. The moonlight faintly revealed the faces in those frames, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. None of them were normal. In one portrait, a man wore a grotesque, unnatural smile that stretched almost to his ears. He had no pupils, just large, milky white eyes that seemed to stare directly at me. The portrait on the other wall was even more terrifying. The person's skin was heavily wrinkled, with bloodshot, bulging eyes. It felt like he was waiting to devour me. Every face looked as if it was pressing against the canvas, desperately trying to break out of the frame. Who on earth hangs such cursed, horrifying paintings in a bedroom? I thought to myself. I could hear the loud thump, thump, thump of my own heartbeat. I squeezed my eyes shut. They are just paintings, I told myself. Just the work of some crazy artist. But even with my eyes closed, I could feel their heavy gazes burning into my skin. It felt like they were watching, waiting for me to fall asleep. Terrified, I pulled the blanket completely over my head. Eventually, out of sheer exhaustion, I drifted back to sleep. When I woke up again, it was around 8 a.m. Sunlight was pouring in, illuminating the entire room. I got out of bed and took a deep breath, laughing at myself for being so scared last night. Scared of shadows in the dark. I turned to look at those creepy paintings, but there were no paintings on the walls. Just bare wooden planks. My mind went blank. Was it a dream? No, I was absolutely certain there were portraits on those 2 walls. I could still remember the shapes of those faces, those bloodshot eyes. A fresh wave of dread pooled in my stomach. I bolted out of the room, ran out the front door, and rushed to the back of the cabin, right outside my bedroom. When I got there, my legs went completely numb. I forgot how to breathe. My entire body turned as cold as ice. Unable to utter a single word, I just stared at the wall. No. God, no. This can't be happening, I whispered. What I had seen from my bed last night weren't paintings hung on the wall. Those 2 walls had large glass windows. Last night, those weren't canvases. Real people had pressed their faces against the glass, staring at me from the outside. Those horrifying smiles, those bloodshot eyes. They were the faces of living, terrifying people standing in the dark, watching me until I fell asleep. The only thing protecting me all night was a thin pane of glass. I ran to my car. I didn't pack a single thing. With trembling legs, I started the engine and sped out of that cursed forest as fast as I could. Even today, every time I close my eyes to sleep, I remember those unnatural smiles pressed against the glass.